Happening now on Grid Tonight. Foyt Racing signed Sting Ray Robb for the 2024 IndyCar season. What does it mean for the futures of Santino Ferrucci and Benjamin Pedersen? Porsche driver Jaxon Evans is a surprise last-minute addition to the 2024 Supercars grid. Did Dunlop Super 2 competitor Zach Best get snubbed? Hello to all our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. It feels good to be back tonight. I'm Kobe Lambert. With me is Ben Snyder. We encourage everyone to comment in the chat below, ask questions, and consider supporting us through Super Chat. And before we get started, click the link down below in the video description to vote for the 2023 Grid Network Awards, the most memorable moments of the racing season. Now here's Ben with our top story this evening.
Thank you, Kobe. Welcome back. It's good to be back. I got to say, I like having Matt on for this season. I think he's done a good job on the show, but I like the two-person dynamic that we have here. Maybe this feels like, pardon the interruption in some ways. I can be Tony Kornheiser, you can be Mike Wilbon, and we'll have a good show tonight here. I know it's a little bit of a shorter show, but now we're in the off-season, but we do have a couple of stories to talk about. Let's get into the first one right now here, and it involves the NTT IndyCar Series. The grid for 2024 is nearly complete. One of the final seats available was claimed by Sting Ray Robb, who is signed with Foyt Racing. After a difficult rookie season with Dale Coyne Racing, Robb will look to improve in his second year with a team that's beginning its alliance with Team Penske. Robb only had one finish of 15th or better during the 2023 season. That was the season finale at Laguna Seca. The Idaho native entered IndyCar competition as a bright prospect on the road to Indy ladder after winning the 2020 USF Pro 2000 Championship and finishing runner-up in the 2022 Indy next season. Set to drive a number 41 Chevrolet, Robb says it's a dream come true to drive for one of the legends of the sport. The graphic on your screen courtesy of Foyt Racing. Kobe, given his past success on the road to Indy, do you think last year showed Sting Ray Robb's true potential in IndyCar? And do you believe he'll improve with Foyt with this new alliance going forward?
Yeah, I think the new alliance is definitely the most exciting thing here for a young driver like Sting Ray Robb, being able to work with the captain, Roger Penske, Team Penske, and everything that they bring to the table. And before this alliance came about, going to Foyt might seem like, I just want to be on the IndyCar grid. I just want to be there just to say that I'm on the IndyCar grid for the upcoming season. But now Foyt Racing has suddenly become a place where you want to be. The alliance with Team Penske is very exciting. Even Stingray said in some of his comments after announcing the signing that he was looking forward to being with Foyt because he can study, the likes of Will Power, Joseph Newgarden, and Scott McLaughlin, try to learn from them and make himself in this Foyt Racing team a lot better. I'm not sure how much Foyt Racing is going to improve in 2024, but based on all of the moving parts they have in place, there's, as I say, there's nowhere to go but up. And yeah, looking at people's past success on the road to Indy, it's a really interesting thing because you've seen in some cases where someone looks really good on the road to Indy, and then they get to IndyCar and it didn't really look good. Like thinking examples like Spencer Pigot or like an Oliver Askew. Although I don't think Oliver really got a true chance to show what he can do in the NTT IndyCar Series, and it seemed like his chances have started to dry up quite a bit. But yeah, Sting Ray Robb, he did look like a really good young driver on the road to Indy. Thought he could potentially be a future star in the IndyCar Series, and there's nothing saying that he can't reclaim that potential because I think he was in a bad situation last year at Dale Coyne Racing. Dale Coyne lost some really good people from that organization, so last year was basically like a rebuilding year. Getting some more young people in place, try to bring this Dale Coyne Racing program back up to the level where we would expect it to be. Sometimes playing spoiler on race weekends. So I think that for a rookie driver like Sting Ray Robb to go to an organization that lost some really good people and in the process of rebuilding, it just wasn't working out for Sting Ray at all. So maybe the move to Foyt Racing can do him some good.
Stingray's had a very interesting career trajectory, and I think a lot of people might forget this. I know Luis Torres certainly hasn't, but the K&N West Series race in Meridian, we mentioned he's an Idaho native, Sting Ray Robb is. Sting Ray Robb was in that race, the K&N West race in Meridian that Haley Deegan won in 2018, and now he's come back to the open wheel route. He's gone up through the road to Indy, now has this opportunity to kind of be part of this rebuild here at Foyt Racing. And, it's always struck me, I've always kind of been a little bit surprised at how Foyt Racing isn't one of the top teams that we talk about. For whatever reason, their performance just hasn't been there in the last several years. And, for a name like Foyt, obviously that's just as synonymous with success in this sport as the Penske's, Ganassis, and Andretti's of the world. as an owner, AJ Foyt Racing has not necessarily had that same level of success. But now that they have this alliance with Team Penske going forward, and they have a talented young prospect and driver in Sting Ray Robb, it would not surprise me at all. And I think we saw some flashes of it at the Indianapolis 500 this year, with Santino Ferrucci in particular. I think this team has a lot of potential, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see in 2024 exactly how Sting Ray Robb's able to adapt to this new environment. But simply adding Robb to the team may not be as straightforward as it seems, with the futures of Ferrucci and Benjamin Pedersen still up in the air. Now, Pedersen previously signed a multi-year deal with Foyt, but as we've seen with Alex Palou for sure, and also Roman Grosjean and Callum Ilott, that doesn't really mean much of anything these days. Contracts are really just words on paper. According to Marshall Pruitt from Racer.com, Robb's renumbered number 41 is set to replace Pedersen's number 55, based out of a shop in Speedway, Indiana, home of Foyt Engineering Department, led by Michael Cannon. Now, a statement from Benjamin Pedersen, and here it is. He says, "It's awesome to see that Sting Ray is joining us here at AJ Foyt Racing, and I'd like to send a very big welcome. He will be a great addition to our team. Looking forward to on-track testing soon. Signed, BP." Kobe, could we see another legal situation play out here, or does Pedersen moving over to the number 14, the iconic AJ Foyt Racing ride, seem likely?
Ben, when I first saw this Benjamin Pedersen statement come out, I'm thinking, here we go again. It really, I hate to say it, but it really seems like we're trending in that direction, because it's not just Marshall Pruitt. Other media outlets as well have reported that Sting Ray Robb was signed to replace Benjamin Pedersen. It doesn't seem like Benjamin Pedersen is going to be moving over to that number 14 Chevrolet. Not really sure how they're going to do that. I know Marshall Pruitt also had some other excellent reporters saying that it could be a ride that's shared by Santino Ferrucci on the ovals, and then whenever his World Endurance Championship schedule doesn't conflict, we could see Callum Ilott in that 14 as well. So it seems like that's going to be a car shared by others. So, and it doesn't seem like AJ Foyt Racing is going to be adding a third car to the stable anytime soon. So it's like musical chairs, and who's left without a seat? It seems like it's going to be Benjamin Pedersen. Unfortunately, like you were said, Ben, looking at these contracts is really just words on paper, because they don't really mean anything nowadays. We covered Alex Palou's story multiple times here on Grid Network. Don't need to go into that. We covered Roman Grosjean, the situation, how he signed a multi-year deal with Andretti, but they're in the process of, they have gotten out of that contract, and then Callum Ilott and his contract situation getting let go at the very last minute when he didn't have time to get a full-time IndyCar ride. So I think Benjamin Pedersen's chances of moving over to the number 14 Chevrolet is probably very, very unlikely, and it would not surprise me if we see another legal situation play out. I have a feeling we're going to be revisiting this story next year.
Yeah, that statement from Pedersen certainly makes it seem like they're going to be teammates next year, and maybe this is going to be a third car that Sting Ray Robb's going into when you factor in Santino Ferrucci as well. But as you mentioned, Kobe, this doesn't seem like a team that's at a point right now where it would be likely for them to add a third car. So you got to think somebody's going to be the odd man out. No disrespect to Benjamin Pedersen, but based on how their seasons went last year, I would probably think they're more likely to want to keep Ferrucci on board, or maybe there's a situation where he and Callum Ilott split that ride, like you were mentioning, Kobe. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this kind of musical chairs plays out. And unfortunately, if Benjamin Pedersen seems to think he's under contract for next year, maybe he actually isn't. We might see another legal battle start to play out in 2024 on the Foyt side of things as well, because goodness knows we certainly haven't had enough of those in the IndyCar Series, like you were mentioning.
Yeah, and plus Benjamin Pedersen had a very, very rough rookie year. I believe out of all the full-time drivers, he finished, like at the very end of the point standings. And we know for some rookies, like Sting Ray Robb had a difficult rookie year. Benjamin Pedersen also had a very difficult rookie year. So when you look at the performance aspect, I guess you could understand why AJ Foyt Racing would want to drop a Benjamin Pedersen. And plus, the thing that Sting Ray Robb has going that Benjamin Pedersen doesn't. Sting Ray Robb had a successful road to Indy career. And I'm not saying that Benjamin Pedersen wasn't successful at all, because I remember he won the Indy Next race there at Portland when he was there. That was basically the highlight of his road to Indy career, and he didn't really have hardly anything else to show for it other than that. So Sting Ray Robb certainly showed that he had more potential on the road to Indy than Benjamin Pedersen did.
Yeah, very interesting stuff playing out at AJ Foyt Racing. We'll keep an eye on that. But in the meantime, we move on now to another story and a surprising conclusion to Supercars' silly season. Porsche-backed driver Jaxon Evans took the last full-time seat on their 2024 grid. Evans will replace Jack Smith at Brad Jones Racing in the SCT Logistics Chevrolet Camaro. In the last 2 years, we've seen Evans co-drive with Smith twice in the Bathurst 1000 and once in the Sandown 500. Now, Evans brings a lot of success from his Porsche career, which saw him win Porsche Carrera Cup titles in Australia and France, plus starts in IMSA and the FIA World Endurance Championship. According to Australian media, Evans beat out Dunlop Super 2 driver Zach Best for the final seat. Photo on your screen is courtesy of Brad Jones Racing. Kobe, is the signing of Jaxon Evans an unusual move, and what does Zach Best have to do to get a full-time supercar seat at this point?
Well, I'm going to start with the first part of that question. Yeah, it's a bit unusual to see a Porsche back driver like Jaxon Evans coming into supercars, because you typically, see someone from, on the supercars ladder system, well as one of the support categories, and then move up to Super 3, then to Super 2, and then graduate to the Supercars Championship. You don't really see a lot of outsiders like Jaxon Evans just come in like this and get a supercar seat. And yeah, I know Jaxon Evans, like you said, he's competed in the Bathurst 1000 the last 2 years, and then also Sandown as well. So he did have that co-driver experience in this car, and he was able to show some potential as well. And no disrespect to the outgoing driver Jack Smith, but I do think Jaxon Evans is going to be quite an improvement over anything we've seen Jack Smith do in the Repco Supercars Championship. Looking forward to seeing what Jaxon can do. But it is quite an unusual move, as you were saying, to see someone like this, go from racing Porsches in Europe and America, and then all of a sudden he's racing full-time in supercars. You don't really see a lot of that nowadays. But in regards to Zach Best, looking at the stats, you can't help but feel for the guy, because Zach Best, he's done some really incredible things and shown a lot of potential in his young career. But he's still not on the supercars grid full time, and it's quite a shame. The good thing he has going for him, he's still young, so I'm sure that could be some great opportunities for him to graduate to supercars full time. And I just want to point out to you a few things showing how frustrating it must be for Zach Best. 2021, 2022, and 2023, he ran full time in the Dunlop Super 2 series. Guess where he finished in the championship in 2021? Second place. Guess where he finished in 2022? Second place. And guess where he finished this season they just finished up? Second place, 3 years in a row, second in the championship. And he still doesn't have a full-time seat in supercars. And also, I want to bring up his impressive performance from 2022. He was a part of a Foyt Racing wildcard entry at, I believe it was at the Bend Motorsport Park. And guess what he did? He put it on pole. Yeah, seriously. He put that Foyt Ford Mustang on the pole in an unsponsored car. And that's something you don't really see in supercars nowadays. You see all the nice decals and all the sponsors on the cars, but Zach Best just had a straight black Ford Mustang from Tickford, and he was unsponsored and put that thing on the pole. And I believe in that. And he also got a top 5 finish as well during that race. And he mixed up with some of the best of the best in the Repco Supercars Championship. So if someone like that can't get a full-time seat in the Repco Supercars Championship, I don't really know what to tell you. And also wanted to point out that the driver who won the Super 2 title, Kai Allen, he's also not going to be in supercars full-time next year either. But the driver finished third in the championship, Ryan Wood, he's going to be in supercars. And the driver who finished ninth in the championship, Aaron Love, he's going to be in supercars as well. I just think that is quite a shame. You have drivers like Kai Allen and Zach Best who aren't getting these calls to race full-time in supercars. But at the same time, we know you have to, it all comes down to sponsorship money and all of that. And looking at Zach Best and everything he's been able to do, and especially the situation 2022 with the unsponsored ride, it really seems like that it might be a challenge to get him there, but he's certainly going to need to have some teams take a chance on him. And based on what we've seen from him so far, they probably wouldn't go wrong by taking a chance on young Zach Best, because we've really seen some really good things from him.
Yeah, admittedly, I don't follow supercars as closely, but the problem that you're describing, Kobe, of a talented young driver not being able to find his way onto the main series grid, it's hardly a unique issue. We've talked about this in Formula 2 in terms of their champions having to basically sacrifice a year of their careers before they can get into Formula 1. If they can even get into Formula 1 at that point, they usually have to go run a year of Super Formula or spend a year as a reserve driver, because there simply aren't enough grid spots open for them. So maybe that's a greater unique problem, or a problem that's not unique, I should say, to just one series, and a greater problem across the entire board in terms of the world of motorsports. But Adam Lemmer, it's good to see you in the chat as well. Can't wait to see how Jaxon Evans does in 2024 down under. Certainly a lot to look forward to in the Supercar Series. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you too as well. And absolutely glad to see that the issue that I was discussing on my channel yesterday, the NASCAR and YouTube mess is done, at least on Brock Beard's side. I can only speak for him since I'm directly involved with lastcar.info as a staff writer. Hopefully everybody else that's been affected is in the process of getting their videos resolved as well. I know I have one claim on my channel that's still active, but it's not nearly what Brock was going through last night. So certainly glad to see that things are on the mend over there. And your favorite moment, SVG, speaking of supercars, SVG coming over to NASCAR and winning at Chicago, certainly a highlight of the year for a lot of people. I think can't wait to see how he does in Daytona. Well, on that note, we've got some more motorsports news from around the world. So I'll hand it back over to Kobe and we'll roll right into it there.
Thanks, Ben. Lamborghini Squadra Corsa and the Iron Lynx have finalized their 2024 driver lineup for the SC63 LMDH prototype that will run in IMSA and the FIA World Endurance Championship. Starting with the WC, Mirko Bortolotti, Danny Kvyat, and Eduardo Mortara will run the entire season. The hypercar class that kicks off with the season opener, Qatar, 8:12 km. On the other side of the world, Andrea Caldarelli, Roman Grosjean, and Matteo Caroli will compete in IMSA's GTP class, but only the final 4 races of the Michelin Endurance Cup. Remember seeing Lamborghini doing the test earlier this month at Daytona. They brought a really fast car, showed great pace, and I'm sure it almost kills Lamborghini that they aren't entering the Rolex 24 because based on the pace that they have, if they can stay reliable, they might be one of the favorites to win on debut if that was the case. But yep, they're going to be skipping next month's Rolex 24. The Lamborghini prototype will instead make its IMSA debut in the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring and later compete in the Sailing 6 Hours of Glen, the Battle on the Bricks at Indianapolis, and Motul Petit Le Mans. Both prototypes are also expected to compete in next year's 24 Hours of Le Mans, photo courtesy of Lamborghini. And after lots of perseverance, Lane Riggs finally found a full-time ride in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Riggs signed a multi-year deal with Front Row Motorsports to replace Zane Smith in the number 38 Ford F-150. The 2022 NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series champion mate select starts earlier this year in late models, trucks, and Xfinity, looking for his big break and prove that he belongs at this level of competition. Dylan Capella will be Riggs' crew chief for the 2024 season, while Chris Lawson steps down from this role to become a team consultant and focus on other projects outside of NASCAR. Riggs said he's dedicated his whole life for an opportunity like this, and in his own words, driving for one of the best teams in the truck series. Photo courtesy of Front Row Motorsports. Ford announced 5 new factory drivers for its new Mustang GT3 program, joining the already confirmed Joey Hand, Dirk Mueller, Harry Tinknell, and Mike Rockenfeller. We'll see Ben Barker, Christopher Mees, Dennis Olsen, Andy Prio, and Frederick Vervish become the newest Ford factory drivers on top of the factory-backed Multimatic Motorsport program in IMSA's GTD Pro category. Ford Works drivers also support the Mustang GT3 program worldwide, driving for customer teams in IMSA GTD, GT World Challenge Europe, and the FIA World Endurance Championship. 2 of Ford's newest signings will compete in the Rolex 24 next month. Mees will co-drive with Tinknell and Rockefeller in number 64 Ford Mustang GT3, while Vervish will team up with Hannon Miller in the number 65 Ford Mustang GT3. According to Trackhouse Racing President Ty Norris, Shane Van Gisbergen is expected to make his ARCA Menard Series debut in the season opener at Daytona International Speedway. Norris told SiriusXM NASCAR Radio that Trackhouse is currently in the process of getting Van Gisbergen in the ARCA race because it's a requirement for him to compete on the bigger tracks. He also mentioned the pre-race practice in January and a lengthy practice session for Xfinity is being key in SVG receiving approval to compete in the Xfinity race. On last week's episode of Grid Tonight, we talked about SVG's 2024 schedule, running full-time for Kaulig in Xfinity and doing 7 cup races on the side. Yesterday, Kaulig announced that his Xfinity Series crew chief would be Bruce Slicker.
Well, since we have a shorter show tonight, I do want to take a second to respond to this point a little bit and expand upon it. Since we do cover these series for the Grid Live Encore show, I think it's fitting that I should give some thoughts on this here. I can't say I'm surprised because it's consistent with what NASCAR has done in the past, and even Formula One Grand Prix winner like Juan Pablo Montoya and IndyCar Series champion, Indy 500 champion like Dario Franchitti. They had to run some ARCA races at Talladega and Daytona to get approval and everything like that. But in Shane Van Gisbergen's case, it does seem a little funny that they're making somebody run an ARCA race to get approval for an Xfinity race when this guy's won a cup race. Now, I know Chicago street circuit is very, very different than Daytona International Speedway, but you just think about that for a moment. A Cup Series race winner has to run an ARCA race to get Xfinity Series approval. That doesn't seem right on a ladder system. But another point that was brought up to me just before we came on the show is that Shane Van Gisbergen has run the Rolex 24 at Daytona before, so he has experience on the high banks. He has experience, in a NASCAR stock car. It just seems a little silly to make him jump through these hoops here. And the other point that was brought up as well by a lot of people is that what happens if the ARCA race gets rained out? Because they're scheduled the same day as the Xfinity Series Daytona race that he's trying to get approval for, but he supposedly needs to run this ARCA race to participate in. So if the ARCA race gets postponed due to rain, it has to be postponed to after the Xfinity race. If the skies clear up, I don't know. Can he not run that Xfinity Series race? Would he have to apply for a playoff waiver? I don't know how that's going to work. I understand NASCAR's decision-making here. I'm sure, Shane Van Gisbergen is a racer. I don't know, but he's going to be complaining too much about getting the extra laps, but to force him to do it for the approval process, it just seems a little bit backwards to me. And I think that that's maybe something that NASCAR should look at going forward here is, do we really need to make somebody who's literally won a Cup Series race go through the ARCA procedure to get approval for Xfinity? I know we don't have as much practice time as we used to, and maybe that's part of it as well, but I don't know. It seems quite silly to me, and I think a lot of people have kind of shared that sentiment, but we'll leave it there. Like I said, a little bit shorter show tonight now that we're in the off season. Grid Tonight will return from our holiday break on Wednesday, January 3rd, with a special edition of Roundtable during the same time slot as this show you're watching right now. So stay tuned for that. And then Grid Tonight will be back on Wednesday, January 10th at 6 p.m. Eastern in its normal form. So stay tuned for that as well in a little bit under a month's time. You can find us right here. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for helping us reach the milestone of 780 subscribers. Now join us on our new goal of 800 and 900 after that on the road to 1,000 and beyond. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so that you can be notified every time we upload a new video or host a new show like the one you're watching right now. And follow us on all our social media platforms. And don't forget to visit our website, gridranking.com. Now, if you really liked what you saw tonight, you can take 5 minutes after the show to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. Join Colin, Deshelle, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew in investing each month in Grid Network. We encourage you to join this amazing group of people who help keep us on the air. And as you can see, once we hit $500 per month, we can start sending our team to the track to cover more races and expand our coverage even more for you, the viewers. Link to that is in the description box below. Or if you'd rather make a one-time donation, you can click on the Buy Me a Coffee link, get your name on the board, invest in as much as you want. Consider buying a specific on-air personality a cup of coffee, and we will thank you on the air. Or you can alternatively donate if you're watching on YouTube through our live streams on Super Chat, or through Super Thanks if you're watching afterwards as well. And here's another reminder as well. Click on the link down below in the video description to vote for the 2023 Grid Network Awards. Share your favorite moments from the past season with us. For Kobe Lambeth, I'm Ben Schneider. Thank you so much for watching us all year long. Enjoy the holidays, and we will see you in 2024.
Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos, including Life on the Grid, where we interview folks from the motorsports industry. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.